We will continue with Domain 11, Frontier Explorers. Today's story is titled Sacagawea. You will remember that Lewis and Clark needed people in the Corps of Discovery who could speak languages other than English, as they would need to be able to communicate with Native American tribes whom they met along the way, and as we learned yesterday, they each speak their own language. So, for example, Lewis understood and spoke only English. If he wanted to talk to someone who spoke only French, he would need the help of someone who understood and spoke both French and English, like the gentleman we already met, George Drouillard. Lewis might say something in English, and then George would say what Lewis had said in French, so the other person could understand. Someone like George Drouillard is called a translator. A translator is someone who is able to say the same thing in more than one language. He can listen to what someone says in one language and then repeat it in a completely different language. Listen today to find out where Lewis and Clark spent that winter and who they decided to hire as a guide and translator. As autumn approached, Lewis and Clark were in a hurry. They knew the Rocky Mountains lay ahead, and they hoped to spend the winter there among the Mandan and Hidatsa tribes. However, it was already so cold that the river was freezing into ice, and when the river froze, it was impossible to travel up the river in their boats. Where the Knife River flows into the Missouri River, Lewis and Clark found 5 villages of Hidatsa and Mandan Native Americans. Like other Native Americans living on the plains, these people hunted bison, also known as buffalo, from horseback. They also lived in permanent earth lodges and farmed the land around their homes. 4 or 5 families shared each lodge, and even the horses spent bad weather days inside in a roped-off space just inside the entrance. The Mandans especially welcomed the travelers from the east because they were used to visitors. Other Native American tribes and trappers came to the Mandan area to share news and to buy and sell furs from beavers, bear, elk, or bison. Across the river from one of the Mandan villages, the explorers built a wooden house and surrounded it with log walls 18 feet high for protection. The men of the Corps of Discovery called their winter home Fort Mandan, named after the Mandan Native American tribe. They dragged the Iroquois into the riverbank, but before they could move the keelboat, the river froze around it. It took 3 weeks to chop the keelboat out of the ice. They had other worries too, Lewis told Clark. "We are eating so much food that we will run out before the winter is over. And in this terrible weather, it's getting harder to hunt." Thankfully, the Mandans appeared one day to tell them, "We have found a herd of bison nearby. Come hunting with us. We have brought horses for you to ride." The result was more food and warm blankets made from their hides. As the winter nights grew long and temperatures plunged to 30, even 40 degrees below zero, the explorers also traded with the Mandans for food. In return for the food the Mandan gave them, Lewis and Clark acted as doctors for members of the tribe who were sick or injured, and several of the explorers who were skilled as blacksmiths made iron tools, axes, and arrowheads for the Mandans. The party spent many cold nights asking the Hidatsas and Mandans about the country that lay ahead. Lewis and Clark kept all the information they learned in a journal. Then one day a French-Canadian trapper appeared at the gate of Fort Mandan. He announced, "I am Toussaint Charbonneau. I heard about you from the Hidatsa. I am an excellent cook, and I speak English, French, and several Native American languages. I could cook for you and translate what is said in other languages into English." Charbonneau had not come alone. With him was his very pregnant wife, a young Native American woman named Sacagawea. Sacagawea was a member of the Shoshone tribe who lived farther along the Missouri River. The Shoshone were the next tribe that Lewis and Clark expected to meet. Lewis and Clark discussed Charbonneau's offer. Sacagawea could be helpful when we reach the land of the Shoshone. She could show the Shoshone that we come as friends, and she knows a lot about the countryside there. As for Charbonneau, if he is the cook he claims to be, he will be a welcome addition to our party. Lewis told Charbonneau, "We want you and your wife to join us, and of course we will pay you for your work." This turned out to be one of the best decisions the co-captains ever made, and while they had agreed to hire 2 new members of their expedition, they soon had 3. One cold night, Sacagawea gave birth to a little boy. Charbonneau, the new father, looked proudly at his newborn son and said, "We shall call you Jean-Baptiste Charbonneau." William Clark laughed. "That's an awfully big name for such a little fellow to carry. I'll call him Pompey." Pompey proved to be a good little traveler, too. Lewis and Clark organized their notes and drawings and labeled samples of plants and animals they had gathered. Then spring came. Clark announced, "We have decided to split the party into 2 groups. We will send some of you back east to take President Jefferson the things we've collected and written. The rest of us will continue west." Remember, there were no telephones and no email yet, and there was no way to send mail in the Louisiana Territory. Lewis and Clark sent some of the Corps of Discovery to tell Jefferson of their progress and what they had found so far. On April 7, 1805, some of the party returned back east as planned. They carried with them 4 boxes and a trunk filled with plant and rock samples, as well as the captain's journals and drawings. They also took with them some living animals, such as a magpie and a prairie dog. Lewis told Clark, "I wish I could see President Jefferson's face when that magpie starts chattering away. The president will be mighty pleased, and he will be delighted with all the information in our journals and drawings." Clark replied, "He'll be even happier when you and I report to him in person that we have reached the Pacific." Then the 2 men started westward once more with the remaining men, 1 woman, Sacagawea, and a baby. And we will see more about their journey on a different day.